Hey, it's party time. Welcome to another episode of the Chad and Prather Show in the Mothership Studio 22. The Puppet Master Puppet Master Mark. I hate when I confuse you two. The Puppet Master Mark and Super Chris Cruz driving us into the nether regions of all things insanity. Ooh, let's get deep into it right off the bat. Welcome, my friend Chris Tremoglie. Chris, you, my friend, are doing God's work. Chris wrote a story he recently for the Washington Examiner, talking about how teachers are recruiting students. How we're talking about this stuff. They're getting them in these LGBTQ clubs. I mean, they're doing it as young as elementary school. It's hard to believe this is going on. What have you found? What's going on? What the hell is happening in our country?
Yeah, it's thanks for having me on to talk about this, Chad. I appreciate it. It's kind of sickening and disturbing what's going on when you hear the truth of it. Basically, for whatever reason, teachers and educators and teachers unions have decided to take action upon themselves to basically indoctrinate and brainwash students with, LGBTQ plus whatever the acronym is, transgender propaganda into starting as young as elementary school. This packet and the story that I wrote, it comes from the California Teachers Association, and it was handed out to teachers to be distributed to, handed out to teachers throughout schools in California. And it basically acts as an action plan and a guide to have teachers go around and recruit students to form student-led LGBTQ clubs. And some of the stuff that I'm sure we'll discuss later that's involved in this package is just sickening and has no place in the schools, especially elementary schools. And I would even argue that it's something that should never be argued, that any teacher should be discussing with students.
So, I mean, when I was in school, nobody tried to recruit me to start a straight sex club. I mean, so what is the deal? I mean, surely this is America, Chris. I mean, this isn't happening here. I mean, none of this stuff. I mean, people come, I get all the blowback. People say it's not happening in our schools. What's going on?
Sadly, it is happening. So one of the things, the packet that I wrote in my article dealt with these teachers in California forming LGBTQ clubs. One of the things that pretty much, how can I put this? So one of the things, though, it was a packet that gave ideas to identify students who could lead the club. And remember, this is supposed to be a student-led club. There was a section of the packet that asked how much money teachers were willing to provide for this club. Again, asking teachers to provide money for student-led clubs. And it asked, also included a section of this packet where teachers who were forming these clubs could list the names of people who would be against these clubs and opponents and any barriers.
Yeah.
That's just one section that's kind of a little alarming. Another section are the suggested activities that these clubs are supposed to be doing with students. One of them is in asking children their Kinsey scale rating. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the Kinsey scale. I was not until I came up with across this packet. And it's basically a scale named after infamous, notorious sex researcher Alfred Kinsey from the 1940s. It acts as a test to basically how gay you are. So you have the suggested activities for students as young as elementary schools all the way through high school. And one of these activities is that teachers are asked for conducting these Kinsey scale ratings, which basically is asking students, how homosexual they are. The Kinsey scale is something that's it's a scale, obviously, and there's a rating, and the premise of it is that not every human being is not fully heterosexual or homosexual. There are different degrees and varying degrees of how homosexual people are. So you're either pretty close to being heterosexual, never have any homosexual thoughts or desires, or you're straight out 100% completely homosexual. So the premise here is that we're all it's kind of sick. We're all a little bit homosexual, just to varying degrees. So that was probably the most alarming thing when I came across that, because one, like you said, when you were in school, I never, was recruited for any like clubs dealing with sexual orientation or sexuality or anything. It basically, these things that are occurring in schools pretty much are going against what schools are meant for, which is basically educating, our children, developing them for their, abilities to work in a society in the future, and teaching them the basics of like reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and so on and so forth. Not any of this like brainwashing indoctrination that's going on.
You guys need to be following Chris on Twitter, at CW Tremo, Tremo, CWTREMO. I think I got that right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, nobody ever gave me a test to see how straight I was.
Yeah.
That's the flip side. That's such a weird freaking thing that's going on.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't ever hear, teachers organizing, heterosexual clubs or straight, or there's no like conferences for heterosexuality. I was joking with someone the other day that if I was back in high school and this was going on, or probably high school, I can't say I would do this in elementary school and middle school. I mean, I was pretty much worried about sports and the Philadelphia Eagles than I even care about much of anything else. So, but when I was in high school, I was joking around that people should be starting clubs, that run counter to this and that have the heterosexuality and heterosexual stuff. And I came up with the perfect acronym. It was STRAIGHT. Students trying to reinforce adherence in general heterosexual tradition. And if something like that was being formed, obviously there would be outrage all over the place. It would be, I don't even know what they would blame, cisgendered, I think is the appropriate acronym or name. So it would just, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that's very harmful, that is harming our future generations under the guise of promoting equality. To now it's basically full-fledged left-wing radical indoctrination. That's just kind of,
that's it. Yeah, it's indoctrination.
Totally.
And then you get now one of Chris's claims to fame is you broke the story on Leah Thomas, the Penn swimmer, the trans swimmer. You've done numerous significant interviews. We're seeing this played out in a larger scale in the mainstream of culture. I mean, a man, biological man, identifies as a woman, goes out, wins the national championship, women's swimming. Where are we headed as a society with this?
Well, that's another concerning aspect of all this. And I think because it's crazy because, this essentially evolved to pursuing equality. I mean, I think that most rational human beings can make the claim that no one wants to see anyone being harassed, beaten up, assaulted, anything like that because they identify as a particular gender ideology. I think, no one would say that's right. But that has gone from that cause to now it's basically fighting for equality to now they want special priority. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the whole Leah Thomas story. A fun fact, I don't think you probably know this, is I was an older student, an adult, and I went to Penn. Started at community college, later went to University of Pennsylvania, and I was actually in class with Leah Thomas, who was then William Thomas. Sat right next to him. I had no issue, knowledge that this was on the horizon or that this was anything that he was, trying to transition or of the LGBT community. I mean, obviously, that's probably not something most people talk about in class conversations anyway, but right. When I found out that this was going on later, it was just kind of like, holy cow, like I was in class with this guy. And I, also knew some of the female swim team members who were going through all this. So when I reached out to them, they kind of gave a whole new perspective and the conversation that was not being told throughout the country. And that's why I was able to write the story. The most famous one that I had off of was when Leah Thomas allegedly compared himself to Jackie Robinson. Right. Which in and of itself is a ridiculous comparison as well. But that's the depths to which these radicals are willing to go to try to advance their agenda.
That's a ridiculous comparison. I mean, it's facetious to the mind. It's insulting to the mind. I mean, Jackie Robinson broke a color barrier, competed with other men who were equal to him in terms of athleticism. And, this is just a ridiculous analogy that Leah Thomas attempts to bring out to justify this.
No, I agree 100%. And I think the reason why it was done is it purely for propaganda and indoctrination purposes. And I hate to kind of keep on repeating that, but it's the truth. I mean, if you can kind of align yourself with an icon or a civil rights legend,
Right.
and try to make the false comparison that what Jackie Robinson went through or what African Americans went through in their pursuit of civil rights and equality as the same thing to a man wanting to compete in the sport with women after competing as a man for 3 years because he feels inside that he's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
There's no comparison. It's intellectually disingenuous to even assert that or use their names in the same sentences.
Yeah.
But it's just indicative of the political climate and the cultural war that we have going on now. That it's basically trying to push transgenderism and starting from kids as young as elementary school to basically brainwash society into thinking that this stuff is normal, and it's not.
It's not. Chris, keep up the good work, buddy. And I want to have you back on. Let's keep up with this stuff and keep dialoguing, keep talking, because we need to bring awareness to this as much as we possibly can. You and I got connected because somebody shared my "I Want to Be a Woman and Compete" song.
Yes.
And so
exactly.
I'm glad they shared it with you. I'm glad we were able to connect, man.
Absolutely.
But let's keep up the fight. Stay safe out there, brother, and take care of yourself.
Absolutely. You as well. Take care.
Take care, man. Thanks, Chris. Hey, guys, Mother's Day is just 2 weeks away. Everybody and our dear friends at Genucel get the perfect gift for you, the special women in your lives. Come on, everybody. You need to take care of mom, all right? Right now, save up to 50% on all Genucel products across the Genucel.com brand, including their brand new Ultra Retinol Cream. And during the limited time Mother's Day sale, every order includes Genucel's immediate effects for results in as little as 12 hours. Absolutely free. You're going to get it for free. Genucel Ultra Retinol, powered by Genucel's proprietary MDL technology that combines the anti-aging effects of the meadowfoam flower with the moisturizing effects of hyaluronic acid. Genucel promises you're going to look 5, 10, even 15 years younger. Guaranteed. Or your money back. Make this Mother's Day one that she's going to remember with this one-of-a-kind gift of beauty. Make her younger. That's right. Go to Genucel.com/WatchChat for up to 50% off this world-class skincare. GENUCEL.com/WatchChat. All orders automatically upgraded to a free 2-day shipping with concierge white glove service. Genucel.com/WatchChat. That's Genucel.com/WatchChat. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. Little piece of history. You know, we love to dig deep into the history as much as we can. And, you know, the situation is a reality that if you don't understand history, you don't learn from it, you are doomed to repeat it. We know the old adage, and it's certainly true. I want to welcome to the program David De Jong. He's got an incredible new book that's coming out, Nazi Billionaires. David, welcome to the program. Good to see you. Where are you, man? You in New York?
Good to see you. I am. Yeah, at the moment I am. Thanks for having me, Chad.
You're all over the globe, man. It's
yeah, Dutchman. You know, the Flying Dutchman. You know.
I hear you. Yeah. Nazi Billionaires. What inspired you to write this book?
What I found was that, you know, particularly the families behind BMW and Porsche were you know, kind of whitewashing their names through global philanthropy in names of their patriarchs or their fathers or grandfathers, who, you know, committed war crimes or were members of the SS, and, you know, now they're being celebrated for their business success, but not being transparent about their war crimes. And I think you should be both.
How
that's how you learn, because that's how you learn from history.
That's how you learn from history. And there's so many things that we just kind of brush under the rug, or we just don't know about it altogether. Like you talk about the name Porsche, right? You don't understand the history that's there. You don't know where that came from. At the end of World War II, how many of these people just kind of disappeared into the dustbin of history without ever being held accountable because of who they were?
Oh, thousands, hundreds, hundreds of thousands, if not, you know, I mean, that's a massive figure.
Yeah.
what happened was that, as the Cold War started and the particularly the US's view moved to Russia, to containing the Soviet Union, all was forgiven with regards to Nazi Germany, and they moved on. I mean, you had the Nuremberg trials, which put some of the folks on the stand, but mainly, most suspects of Nazi war crimes were handed over to back to Germany, and they were. I mean, you hear Putin now talk about denazification, with regards to Ukraine, and it's actually denazification was a flawed legal process that saw millions of Germans get off scot-free for their war crimes and Nazi sympathies. That happened after the handover.
How did you read a book and I was reading through the pre-copy that we received from you. And there's so much information that's there. I mean, there's so many names, and so it's a hearty tome, if you will. I mean, it is quite a lot of information in that. How did these men amass so much of wealth?
Well, first of all, I mean, one of the myths I try to dispel in the book is that a lot of people say about these families, who today still control BMW or used to control Daimler-Benz or control BMW, Volkswagen and Porsche and Lamborghini and Bentley and Mini and Rolls-Royce. I mean, you could name it. There's so many brand names. One of the myths I'm really trying to dispel is a lot of people say, "Oh, these folks made their money in the Nazi era." No, I mean, these were already incredibly wealthy families, with the exception of the Porsche family, the Porsche-Piëchs family, who really made their wealth in the Nazi era, or whose wealth started in the Nazi era with the creation of Porsche and with the design of the Volkswagen. All these other families I write about, they were already very rich when Hitler seized power in 1933.
And how many of them were Jewish businessmen?
Of the families I'm writing about, it's actually none. They were all Christian, they were Protestant or Catholic.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just wondering. I asked that question because I was just wondering, how many, obviously with the Jewish genocide and the Holocaust, so many lives were changed. How much of that just kind of changed the map of business in Germany with the advent of Hitler taking power, and just was there a huge transfer of wealth or in power? I mean, how did that work?
On a European scale, yes, but actually, one of the things that's often another myth that's often perpetuated. There were actually comparatively few. I mean, you had about 100,000 I think about 100,000 Jews living in Nazi Germany at the time that Hitler seized power, living in Germany at the time Hitler seized power, which is relative to population, was 0.1% of population, so it's very small.
What's the big...
I mean,
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, most of the the Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust, they were living in the Eastern Europe.
Right.
It was like the millions. They were living in Poland and Ukraine and Soviet Union territory.
So what's the big takeaway here? I mean, is it just the lack of justice? Is it the the people who escaped, got away, or is it the names that we take for granted now? We toss them around easily, somewhat frivolously, without any sense of accountability for what these families did in history.
It's a lack of transparency. I think, as I said earlier, I think you learn from history by being transparent about it. Right. I also don't think renaming is the solution. I think renaming is a political correct form of whitewashing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think one learns from history by being transparent about the good and the bad.
Yeah,
and that's what BMW's foundation, the Herbert Quandt Foundation, and the Ferry Porsche Foundation should do about their exalted saviors or founders. They should say, Herbert Quandt saved BMW from bankruptcy in 1959. but he also, helped build and construct, or plan, build, and construct a sub-concentration camp in Nazi-occupied Poland in late 1944, early 1945. He helped acquire companies stolen from Jews in France. He built, he oversaw factories in Berlin with, thousands of forced and slave laborers, including 500 female slave laborers from concentration camps. He used at his private estate. He used prisoners of war. I mean, they should show that too. And if they don't want to do that, if they don't want to be transparent about the history, then they should rename it. But first, the solution is be transparent about history. That's how you learn from it.
Yeah, and there's so many of those companies out there. IBM, for instance. So many of these companies that we again, they're common names, they're household names. We don't understand their history, their involvement with the Nazi Party, with all of these things that were war crimes, and so how close are we to truly just forgetting that piece of history? Now these many years later, these generations, these decades later. How hard do we need to hold on to this?
I don't know if holding on is the right word. I think remembering is very important. I think remembering is extremely important. You do that by being transparent about history. Sorry to sound like a broken record here.
Sure.
But holding on to it, I mean, it's history, so you should take it into account.
Yeah, and I ask that question simply because so much of the revisionist history that's happening, and the retelling, and the whitewashing, to use a term as you mentioned earlier, just so many of those things, whether it's renaming, we've got to remember this, and that's what I'm saying when we got to hold on to this. And so I appreciate the book, and I'm thankful for this work. And I highly recommend everybody, if you're a fan of history, and I know so much of our audience is, get this book, Nazi Billionaires. David De Jong, thank you for joining us, man.
Thank you, Chad. Really
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Safe
nice
travels.
To you.
You bet.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Hey, friends, we're facing a triple barrel threat: war, inflation, and food shortages. They're all tied together. This isn't looking good for the future. You know it. I know it. That's why you really need to have a long-term food storage plan on hand. You need to have the food on hand. I want you to do that by going to preparewithchad.com and stock up on emergency food from My Patriot Supply. They're going to provide you with that food security for when everything else fails. You'll have it. Right now, you could save $150 on their 3-month emergency food kit that gives you breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks for 3 months. That's per person. It's delicious food. It's not bunker food. You can go to preparewithchad.com, claim your $150 savings per kit, and your order is going to ship quickly. It's going to arrive in unmarked boxes, so that's discreet. Go to preparewithchad.com. Save $150 on each 3-month emergency food kit you order. With the world falling apart, folks, food shortages are next. Don't be a victim. Preparewithchad.com. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. I don't know if you know it or not yet, but 80 years, that's a long time. Entire empires can rise and fall in that amount of time. Children are born, raised, go out into the world, come back in, and die in that space of time. Time marches on. Time is a thief. Mostly that time is unremarked and makes kings and dead men of us in turn, but every once in a while, caught up in the passage of time, like a leaf twisting on errant strands of the wind, there will be something that stands out across that span of time, something that almost defines it, encapsulates it within the narrative. I want you to take a voyage with me to a place in the Netherlands over a century ago. The year was 1910. A Jewish man named Alfred Overstrid has just finished making a watch for his brother Louis, who had just turned 18. It's a beautiful moment, a testament to a time in history when at least some of us knew how to make things instead of just buying them. Now, what neither Alfred nor Louis know is that in 30 years, they'll both be in a German death camp known to the world as Auschwitz, and Alfred will be murdered. Louis's watch, taken by the Nazis, will end up in a field in Belgium, where it will eventually be found by a Belgian farmer, and that farmer will decide to hide it from the Nazis in a clock in his house. And I'm telling this to you in a matter of minutes, but I want you to feel the elongated passage of time. People are going to war, people are living, people are dying, time is marching on, and the world is both changing and staying the same as it always does. Fast forward to today. The major players in this tragedy, well, they're all gone now, but their story lives on through the people they left behind to pick up the load and keep going down the line. Not too long ago, the house with the clock that contained the watch was sold and the watch was found, and today it's back where it belongs, in the hands of Alfred's grandson, Richard. So what's the point of the story I just told you? How am I going to approach it in a way where we can take something away about how the left is destroying America? Simply put, I'm not. And if there's a point, it's just this. The power of the human spirit transcends time and space. It can shine through the darkest moments in human evil and tragedy. It persists beyond the mundane slow drip of minutes that become hours, that become days. Shows up on the other side as fresh as the day you left it behind for other pursuits. It can come in the lowly form of a shared possession brought home at last, or it can come to the world in the form of a God who is man and who sacrifices the most precious thing to ever exist to save the human experience itself. Here's what the Nazis never understood. The more they did to crush the human spirit, the more they strengthened it. There's a vibrancy to people from whom they stole life and liberty that shines all the clearer for it today. So you want a message? How about this? Ask yourself today, as you go about your daily life, what is it that you're doing right now that's going to matter to someone in 80 years? What is it? The answer may just surprise you. I love stories like that. I think I said it last week. I was looking at pictures of my children. They're grown up now. I talked to my son, and he's got a deeper voice than me. That's creepy. And time just marches on, man. Your kids get older. You look at your parents, and you have memories, and you get to a certain age where you start losing friends. They die. You have arthritis, Chris, in lots of places. You take pills for things, like blood pressure and, cholesterol and, all this kind of stuff. And you look in the mirror and you don't really see yourself aging. You don't notice the wrinkles. But then, the other day we did Sarah Gonzalez, The News and Why It Matters. We did her 1,000th episode, and they were just showing clips from 3-4 years ago. I was like, damn, look at that baby face, right? A lot of stress. A lot of stuff's gone on in life in those few years, and you see yourself and you're like, wow, time is a bitch. It really is. But folks, you've heard me often say that if you really want to make a difference in this world, you need to know 4 concepts, and that is you need to know your history, you need to know your identity, you need to know your destiny, and that helps you, those 3 things together help you leave a legacy. What are you leaving? What are you doing that's significant? I hope that, by calling out what I believe are the sins of culture and the evils of this world, that we are leaving a legacy. I'm thankful to be a part of the Blaze Network, that they, I kind of feel like that guy that they put down in the basement in that movie Office Space, and he just wanted his stapler. He didn't get a paycheck for years, but he thought he still worked there. I'm kind of that kid in the closet, I think sometimes that maybe they've forgotten I'm even here. They just let me come in here and run my mouth. But I say that facetiously in tongue in cheek, of course. But this gracious family here at Blaze, being a bastion for free speech and entertainment and enlightenment and just free thought and being able to put your ideas and opinions out there. It's a great legacy that I believe that's being left. It's why I so wholeheartedly encourage people to as well be a part of the Blaze family as well, and support this free speech platform and support this independent broadcasting. Because you know what? You never know when, like, the Nazis come in and, suddenly the Alfreds and the Louis of the world are gone. What did they leave behind? Well, something as simple as a watch, right? But what a story, what a narrative that tells of the resiliency of the human spirit of something that you left behind, whether it was, and you left it behind for generations. The Bible talks about that a righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I want to be living 4 generations in advance, right? I want to make sure that that my children's grandchildren. You ever think about that, guys? Mark, Chris, you ever think about that? Like, most people don't even know the names of their great-grandparents or their your great-great-grandparents. You don't know their names. By and large, people don't know them. They have no clue. So just in 4 generations, your own progeny has forgotten you, right? That is the evil of time. But there's got to be more than that, right? There's got to be more, something significant to life beyond just this 80 years we live and then we're gone. More than just this legacy. And again, the Bible says that God has placed eternity in our hearts, and it's we got to be living for that. We really do. Don't just live for this life. Don't just live. You got to be living for the next life too. And I truly believe that with all my heart. There's more going on in this world than we can understand or even see or comprehend and explain. There's a whole lot more that I believe that happens on a spiritual level. And what are we doing? We spend our life trying to make more money. We're miserable. I want you to be subscribed to Blaze. For one thing, I want you to be watching our overtime segments, because I'm trying to help you understand just how to live out an eternal life. Because eternal life's not a length of life; it's a quality of life. It starts right now, and I want you to live beyond yourself. So I've been putting out this the information that I think is relatively life-changing if you'll embrace it. It took me 49 years to grasp a lot of this, listening to mentors, reading a lot. But we spend our life working for money. And we're miserable, right? We don't want to get up and go to work on Monday. But why do we do it? Because we got to go make the money. So we're willing to give ourselves a really crappy life to accomplish something that we're going to spend anyway. And we don't do a good job because we don't believe in what we're doing. We're not passionate about it. Find the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning and go do that. I believe the money's going to follow. But this life, man, invest it so that you know that it's going to live for generations. And that's the power of this human existence. It really is. We've got David De Jong on here. He's writing a book about, the Nazi billionaires from 80 years ago. And these were real people that influenced the world. And now they're kind of in the dustbin of history. And we still know their names, right? We know IBM, we know Porsche, we know Lamborghini. We know those names, and we don't know the story, though. We don't know the story. We don't know the evils. We don't know the atrocities. We don't know them. Therefore, we can't learn from them. So I want you to realize that there's people out here who are doing the work, quite honestly, to tell the story, unrevised, of history. They're exposing the stories you need to know. We got Chris Tremoglie on here talking about the evils that are happening right under our noses, like in our own school districts right here in small town America. These guys are doing the work. They're doing their life's passion to bring this stuff to you. I want you to utilize it. I really do. If our small speck of existence is just that, just that opportunity to make an investment in the next generation, then I believe it was completely worth it. Completely worth it. I still can't figure out, Chris, on a side note, though, after talking to Chris in that first segment, I still can't figure out, how does somebody like Leah Thomas, who is obviously going through this major transition from becoming a woman, how do they, because it takes a lot to mentally compete and win a national championship, How do you do all that stuff? There's something nefarious going on there. Something nefarious. Because the average person competing on an equal playing field, it ain't going to happen. They're not going to compete at that level while they're going through all that stuff mentally. Because it's one thing to be a physical athlete. Anyway, just a side thought on that. Side thought. Anyway, hey, in these politically charged times, conservatives need to vote with their money, with their dollars. That stuff we were just talking about. Parallel economy stuff, folks. You like coffee, right? I love coffee. I got to know these guys. I've fallen in love with them. I think they're great dudes. They send me messages all the time. And better yet, they send me coffee. All right? Minutemen coffee. They are the coffee for American patriots. Constitutionally based, family-owned company, steadfast in their beliefs. The same stuff that all you freedom-loving Americans deserve. They have products from You want companies that share your beliefs, right? These guys over at Minutemen, they don't operate with a fear of cancellation or retaliation from the woke mob. They just don't care. They're making a good product. Minutemen Coffee believes in your constitutional rights, and they do it so much that they actually put a copy of the Constitution in every order they send to you. So you can actually, keep ordering it. You'll have constitutions you can give away to people and teach and educate the next generation of constitutional patriots. That's something worth leaving behind. Hey, this amazing coffee, this small batch, handcrafted from family farms across the globe, roasted to perfection, delivered fresh to you. I've tasted a lot of coffee, but, buddy, yesterday when I went to my mailbox and there was a new box of Minutemen coffee in there, I was like, let's go make some coffee in the afternoon. And I did it. I'm sure you're going to love it as much as I do. With Minutemen coffee, you're going to get a full pound of coffee for less than most companies charge for only just a cupful. So go to MinutemenCoffee.com. Use code CHAD. I spell it Chad at checkout. They'll give you 15% off your first order. Almost choked on myself. Not only will you're spending your hard-earned dollars with a patriotic company, but you're going to love their coffee. So join this coffee revolution and wake up without going woke at MinutemenCoffee.com. Use code CHAD. Be right back. If you missed the episode yesterday with Brett Cooper, go back and watch that. That's a smart young lady. I feel old when I get around these kids. They're kids to me, Chris. I don't care. They're kids to me. I get around all these folks, and they're so smart, so much smarter than me. And I'm just impressed with them. But go back and watch that episode. It's very good stuff. One of the things I wanted to get into, we just didn't have enough time to do it yesterday. I want to see that clip, the Joy Reid clip. Do we still have that? Will you play that for me, please?
But the message here is far more nefarious. It's about the so-called decline in masculinity and the rise of the left. And it's a message that resonates deeply with Tuckham's Gen X to elderly white male evangelical audience. The formerly bow-tied Dancing with the Stars contestant's hypermasculinity flex is some pretty blatant fascist posturing. The decline of real men is code for conservative white men who need laser beams to make white babies. And if that all falls apart, that spooky old great replacement theory is bound to succeed. What's scarier is what the rhetoric translates into. From book banning to abortion bans and laws that regulate procreation in women's bodies. And what is now an obsession with the false notion that scary liberal saboteurs are going to turn your kids, meaning your sons, trans. That fascist posturing has led to fascist tendencies on the American right that worship fake tough guy Trump, who even as a ghostly presence can still reign as a party boss as he recreates New York's Tammany Hall at Mar-a-Lago.
I genuinely dislike that woman. Okay, let's unpack a couple of things right there. All right. So again, it comes ultimately down. You heard what she said. It always revolves around a woman's right to abort a baby. Ultimately, that's it. Like if we're conservatives, we believe in protecting the unborn, then we're evil. We're fascist, right? And we've got a fake sense of masculinity. How dare we stand up and say what a woman could do? How dare we talk about women? We're not reproducing babies. We shouldn't be able to tell a woman what to do. And then they always have to throw Trump in there, right? They got to throw Trump in there as a fake masculine person. Well, I'm not defending Trump or doing any of that stuff with this. I'm just saying, why even bring him up? Why bring him up? If he's so insignificant, why bring him up? Because he is exactly what you think. He is a man that intimidates you. He's a man that scares you. He's a man that really doesn't give a shit about your woke mob mentality. You can't cancel him, and that drives you up the wall. You can't cancel Tucker Carlson. That drives you up the wall. You can't cancel me. That drives you up the wall. And I'm nobody in comparison. But it drives you up the wall because at the end of the day, we exist. And you don't like it. You don't want us to exist. You want us to go crawl in a hole somewhere. But I'm sorry. You see, the way it works is we're not worried. I don't send my kids, I don't worry about my kids going off into the world and the left turning them trans. All right? contrary to what Joy Reid wants you to believe we think. That is not my worry at all. The issue that I have is that you, Joy, are barking about something. You would like to eradicate a whole group of people. You would. Be honest about it. You would love for that crazy straight white man to go to hell in a handbasket and you never have to deal with them again. They just wipe them out of human history, out of existence, just get them off the globe. See, that mentality right there encapsulates the problem that we've seen throughout history, whether we're talking about Nazi Germany, whether we're talking about Auschwitz, whether we're talking about Nazi billionaires, whether we're talking about whoever it is that's in power and in control. That mindset right there. You've decided, Joy Reid, to propagate an ideology that says this category of human being is evil. And you want them done away with. Now, I'm not going to apologize for being white. I'm not going to apologize for being a conservative. I'm not going to apologize for being straight. In fact, I'm reasonably thankful that I am, you know. Got four incredible biological kids. Guess what? I couldn't do that with another dude. Thankfully, I had sex with a woman at least 4 times. It was more, by the way, if you're keeping a tally there. But I'm not going to apologize for those things, Joy. And I'm not going to apologize for calling you ignorant and calling your mindset stupid. And you're absolutely barbaric in your philosophy. Otherwise, why would you engage in this type of rhetoric, right? Who cares if Tucker Carlson wears a bow tie and was on Dancing with the Stars? Is that an insult of some kind? You know, I love it when the left, you know, they want to talk about, oh, yeah, you know, it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be trans. It's kind of, but you know the biggest insult, and this is one of the reasons I love to continue wearing this cowboy hat. Because everybody wants to come at me and say, oh, look at the Brokeback Mountain. Is that supposed to be an insult? I thought it was okay to be gay, right? You've been trying to gay up Florida. You're fighting for it with the Don't Say Gay bill. And I mean, I'm not threatened by that. You know why? Because I know who I am. I know who I am. And the people like Joy Reid aren't going to intimidate me. And they're not going to intimidate real men, as she calls it, the fake masculinity. You may just find out as we move into the tomb of time and history reveals itself in the days ahead that you better be real fucking glad that men like us exist. Because let me tell you something. When the shit goes down, Joy Reid, you'll be the first one running to hide. And that's a fact, sister. Take it to the bank. We'll be right back. Hey, Yahoo Finance has a story out. It says America's mask manufacturers, they're taking it on the chin. they produced it. I mean, they were feasting on all of this success, this mask sales, right? Yeah, well, not anymore. Don't bring that shit back either. Don't bring it back. No more masks. No. Enjoy unfettered fresh oxygen. Yes. WatchChad.com is where all the fun stuff is. Do a little shopping, go to a show, have a good time. Sign up for Blaze. Don't miss overtime. BlazeTV.com/Chad. Use promo code Chad. Save $10 off an annual subscription. And you can also do some shopping at ChadOnBlaze.com. Kamala sucks. Hey, we're going to be back with you tomorrow night getting jiggy with it, whatever that means. We'll see you then. Love you. God bless you. Bye.